be willing to heavily consider it with my draft picks.
Still want to see Casanova get ETC. The high priority of ETC seems to be working now for SpaceStation,
yes.
so hoping that they will continue with that. Tiger JK played an awesome Carzine, so it's evidence that maybe the rigor just doesn't need to be quite as high for them as the ETC.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up. The Carzine pick for them didn't look poor even a single moment. I feel like every single palm, maybe one palm, I was like, but I can see the thought process, and debatably still ended up saving somebody at the end of that there. I thought for them that they might have to all-in commit, but I guess onto the one kill, but at the same time, they also played Tyrande a lot different than I assumed they were going to. Equinox, you know, showing that EU build. That's one of the more awkward moments about casting NA when looking at other parts of the world. It's like, if NA is running only a certain build on Tyrande, how good do I talk about Tyrande? Do I just say NA's version of Tyrande, or do I say the world's version of Tyrande? It's just a little bit hard to gauge there, so I'm really happy to see that kind of flux out. Same with Leo, right? Like, we constantly talk about the Leo arc, and it's like, well, if Royal Focus Leo is very different than the rest.
Bones, yeah. Are we seeing Shadowstalk or Starfall in Europe?
I believe most of the time we originally saw Shadowstalk.
Okay.
I don't know if that has changed as of the last patch. I didn't look at the heroic choices, but it's just mainly the fact that it's not committing to the standard Shadowstalk into Lunar Flare at level 1. Like, you were willing to mix things up, and I think that is why Tempo struggled in those long sustained fights the way that they just didn't expect that. Because Tyrande comps, I normally go, it didn't end in 2 seconds. Like, oh, I win. Okay, cool, nice.
Do you anticipate any other changes besides, we're guessing ETC for SpaceStation, probably a Tyrande for SpaceStation again too? Do you think Tempo needs to make any adjustments to what has been favored for them, high Dahaka priority?
I don't think that they have to. If anything, I would like to see a lower Dahaka priority, flex more into the Abathur if you're willing to do it on Dragonshire. I think there's a stronger argument for maps like Sky Temple. If anything, the only thing I would say out of Tempo is they are showing some fluctuation in the draft, and they are trying to innovate, and it's pretty apparent even in this series. Don't go too far with it, because if SpaceStation is riding a momentum train there, the first couple of minutes of this game go pretty well. It's Sky Temple, it could get out of hand, and you don't want to deal with that, oh, please don't get reverse sweep moment.
Yeah, nobody wants to deal with that. Nobody wants to fall to that.
About 0 people.
That is the most frustrating thing, is to fall to a reverse sweep. Well, friends, we are just waiting on our teams to be ready for the draft. This is a very important match for these teams, as they are tied in standings right now. Tempo Storm and SpaceStation, both with 5 wins, 4 losses. And as we start to approach HGC finals and the playoffs for that, there's going to be 3 teams that are able to attend from North America. And the top 2 spots in the standings are guaranteed entry. But everyone else has to play in the playoffs. And how those work out is 6th place and up all the way to 3rd have to play in a stepladder format. So everyone wants to be just as high in the standings as they possibly can, which is why both of these teams looking to get this victory over their opponent at this juncture.
So here we go. Tempo Storm, what is going to be this first ban? Do we still see from them? It is going to still be the task at our kickoff. So then SpaceStation Gaming, if you do not pick the Abathur, or ban the Abathur, is Tempo Storm willing to first pick it, or is Tempo Storm even willing to pick it? And if so, where? That's the biggest question for me. Or do we see them go to the Dahaka, focus more maybe on the Genji, things like that? Older Sky Temple strategies.
It's just all been the same. I would expect Dahaka, ETC Greymane.
I hope it's an Abathur, and then I hope on the other side it is a Zool and a... Can't figure out what else I want. Or maybe Probius. More
Since
macro
when do you
focus.
hunt Zool?
I am totally okay with major adjustments into a draft with like the core idea of baiting your opponent into one playstyle and then just going, well, this one's going to lose to this strategy. Like, that's what I like to see.
Okay.
That's what I hope to see more of. Like, with Abathur becoming more prominent, I'd like to see more teams just be like, please pick the Abathur. Like, oh, the macro game is going to be a problem. You know, that being said, I feel like Abathur doesn't have that many downsides to where, like, when he is picked, you should always be like, that's the free win, because he is kind of actually maybe the best character in the video game behind Medivh, but...
yeah, you just said Zool, and I immediately was a little concerned, just because it's kind of like Garrosh in Europe versus NA, right? Garrosh, a lot of success in NA, maybe because of Roll20 alone, but the other teams have gotten some wins there, but Europe not as much. But then Zool in North America, not so much success, more success in Europe.
It's one of those hard to gauge.
Maybe because of Tricked Esports.
It's pretty hard to be able to break it down. But Genji is where Tempo Storm is going to take that first pick. We were both wrong. It's going to be far more offensive an opening, but that does force the Abathur a lot more for SpaceStation Gaming because you don't want to be giving up a double Genji. That is a scary, scary thing to do. So what do you make up for it? Abathur Illidan.
Greymane.
Abathur Illidan. You drop the Greymane, you go to Illidan because it's going to disincentivize any opportunities to go into a Genji or a Malthael. If you go into the Greymane, then you lose the 1v1 matchup, and suddenly you're going to have a hard time in teamfights because Genji is going to be prepped by Malthael, and you're not going to win the 1 versus 1. That was not law, but that was where my thought, it'd be like, oh, you know, if you go to the Abathur Greymane route, it just feels like it could be a really punishing rotation here for Tempo.
Yeah. And I would expect that here, but SpaceStation loves Greymane. They want to have their Greymane.
Got the Wolf Heart.
What now for Tempo Storm? Dahaka, still getting Dahaka. Is support here? No, that is Dahaka Malthael.
You don't even have to ban the Illidan, I don't think, anymore. When you pick both of them, you don't even have to consider the removal. I think it's a safe choice if you do it. Either you go for the Illidan or you go for more on the Tyrael avenue for Tempo, because both of those still pretty functional against the roster of Tempo Storm. But to be frank, I mean, I don't assume SpaceStation Gaming to be coordinated enough with the Abathur already risky on a map like Sky, where it's a bit of a, a double-edged sword. So would the Tyrael. So I feel like on Tempo, remove the easiest, most blatantly successful one rather than venturing as far as things like Tyrael. I'm going down the rabbit hole in this draft. I apologize, man. It's just the only direction I see it going.
So what do you want Tempo Storm to ban now? I'm confused.
In a dream world, to be like, the safe route is just be like Illidan or something. Something you're afraid of the Dahaka pressure to be. Whoever's going to match the Dahaka, make sure he doesn't get bodied. Because an Illidan Abathur suddenly makes that 1v1 less incentivized, and your team fight is still high risk, high reward. But if you remove the Illidan, no 1v1 loses the Dahaka. Like, it's just safe, right? The only other hero who can make up for that, I was trying to say, was Tyrael. And Tyrael is equally as effective, harder to run. Might as well rid of the safe one.
SpaceStation generally, if they don't get Dahaka, we've seen Jason now play Malthael, but it's been Falstad if they play in a solo.
The Falstad has been a continuous thing into the Malthael, it feels like, for SpaceStation, even more so than some of the rest. I don't know how heavy of a trend that is going to be for them beyond this point, but I do think that there is some justification for them to prioritize Malthael ever since the climb of, or Falstad, excuse me, because of the climb of Malthael.
Yeah, I think they're going to want the pause button on engagements now because of Tormented and Dragon Blade. Same thing as before, same thing we saw in Cursed Hollow, just not Hinterland Blast and not Zeratul.
If you're going to do one of those two, I would rather Zeratul over Hinterlands, or over the Falstad, even with the Gust. I think even in this case, I think it could work really well with their comp of having like this kind of death ball, anti-melee, all-in wombo. Karzim doesn't play into that well.
I don't think the Zeratul worked out for SpaceStation very well.
It did. But
I would rather have Falstad.
I mean, but neither of them looked too good in the first one. I just feel like I want something absolutely wild and not the same trending for SpaceStation. Though the last game looked good. Again, a lot of it was because of some of the risks Tempo took, because of the flair they brought to their own draft, and not having that on a map like Sky doesn't bode very well for me in my brain.
Still waiting on support for June. He's been playing a ton of Lucio, and Lucio's still up. So is Rhaegar.
Rhaegar making it this late through this draft is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Huh? Karzim and an Uther ban there, but not picking up the Rhaegar. It's it feels like it's got to be with the intent of like hopefully getting like maybe they won't think we need to pick up the Rhaegar, but I feel like Tempo Storm, you already have 3 melees and now a 4th. There's no way you don't.
Yeah.
So then what would be the end goal here? Does SpaceStation have a master plan?
I guess we'll find out in 53 seconds.
We have Muradin, pretty effective hat. Dive on the back line, can 1v1, but nobody's 1v1able. Zeratul has no opportunities to get any big turnaround. Tyrael is about the only thing to deal with this death ball. Again, that I feel like SpaceStation can present and hold their own. because otherwise you're dealing with Tormented Souls, Genji, just AoE damage, Arthas slowing everything. It really doesn't get scarier.
No, it doesn't.
Other than maybe the spirit animal coming out with all of them and them screaming at you with bloodlust and getting bigger. That's the only way it gets a little bit scary. I feel like SpaceStation feels a bit of the same way here, as they're taking their sweet, sweet time. Hey, you know what? I am totally all right with this.
Jaina Abathur.
Give me the old Ring of Frost Death Ball counter initiation strat. It's going to probably still be a problem here in this game. I feel like Jaina's going to have a hard time surviving and being effective, but I'm much happier to see that and be a change than to be a very standard tier 3 meta pick, and you're just kind of like, I need to see an argument here. The Jaina, it's wild, but it's going to, the idea behind it is with all that melee, slow them all down. Ring of Frost is a really good counter momentum. It's just, and then Jaina's one of the best clone targets in the game. I'm still torn on if I would like to see Palm versus 7-sided with this many melees, but I assume it's going to be Palm.
Yeah, I think so too. From Tiger JK, trying to get a second health bar for somebody, probably Greymane if he's going to go in for more of a melee style, which has been tradition. Although Jason did play cocktail build this time, or this series, once versus Tempo Storm. But Jaina has always long-standing been a great Abathur clone target because they can combo off of each other's chill. The chill is applied by the clone still, and she gets the bonus 20% ability power. So she does a lot as a clone target. Let's see how it works out. If SpaceStation can tie us back up, continue their reverse sweep against Tempo Storm, and try to go to Game 5, or if Tempo Storm will be able to close out the series. We're headed into Sky Temple for Game 4.
About everybody on the side of SpaceStation Gaming does pretty well with the hat itself. They trade pretty effectively into the members of Tempo Storm. Greymane, Karzim, Murden, all are your dream hat targets, and then Jaina for the dream clone.
Yeah, Jaina and Greymane make good clones because of the increase. It comes down to their base kit, right? Their trait especially, and both of them have great traits. Greymane getting the increased attack damage once he goes into Worgen form, and the armor, you still benefit from that. And then Jaina being able to apply the slows and the increased ability damage of chills. There's some options there for SpaceStation. Even a double Muradin, really, if they want to try to have a tankier, beefier frontline. Although I anticipate that it'll be one of the two damage dealers as a clone.
We do see the Lingering Chill as the choice for Jaina and Talking Trees at level 1. That typically means that you can expect more focus into Q or Shotgun build, I think is the official name that people have kind of given it. Focusing into getting the CDR at 13, making sure that you get a lot of value out of spamming Qs left and right. You can essentially get multiple Q rotations that get value out of your passive with this, whereas you couldn't get that if you go into the bonus damage.
Yeah, the big deal is Ice Lance for that at level 7, because if you hit a chill target, it further reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds. And then because you have the increased 2 seconds on chill from Lingering Chill, it's very easy to make sure that you're continually just shelling out your Frost Bolts, and you get mana reduction when you hit the heroes too.
Howling Blast is going to land there. Punishment coming out from Tiger JK, though. He got an Abathur hat. Cawthon gets himself a heal, and he makes it out.
We've got the first temple activating in 10 seconds. It'll be top and mid. Where's the setup for SpaceStation? They're already grouping toward the top, which seems to make sense. They have the Abathur. They know that they are somewhat weaker, although they have great early game damage, again, thanks to that Jaina. They're still going to make sure that they take the top temple, just allow Abathur to soak, not try to duke it out over the mid, where you'll see teams, if they feel like they have a good early game comp and setup, go to.
Let's look, man, this rotation here from SpaceStation seems interesting that they're at least feigning passiveness into Tempo Storm, into the Abathur composition here.
They were, but top, they're going to get a kill.
All right. So that was a little bit more of what I was looking for there. Nice job using the slow from Talking Trees to be able to get that kill. That's enough of a time difference now between, well, I guess not, as Tempo Storm secures the rest of those shots. But if they had taken them all the way through, collapsed down below, Jaina is, much like Arthas, one of the best early game team fighters because of that passive slow. Having a default slow is such a 100% uptime, and again, because of that level 1 talent, is ridiculously useful. Anytime that you overextend a little bit too much on any character without a gap closer, you pretty much are just going to be dead.
And any kills you're able to get for SpaceStation helps make sure that they can make it to the mid game without losing too much on Sky Temple versus the Temples. And that one kill, they're still neck and neck in experience, but they've done great damage to the top fort. That'll come in handy later on when everyone starts to group toward the bottom temple in the next phase. Well, I'm already looking ahead at some good power spikes for this Jaina composition, and in seeing Adrenal Overload makes me think that we're likely going to get Executioner, give him the Axe. Those two together with the Jaina, that's going to be huge at 16 for SpaceStation.
No, their damage output is definitely not lacking for SpaceStation Gaming. It's just more of like, do they have enough to be able to deal with 4 really beefy, really self-sustained type composition that Tempo Storm's been able to develop? And it's still yet to be seen. It's all about Jaina and those Ring of Frost. How many people can she lock down? How many Blizzard ticks do we see land? And for now, it is just all about the bottom shrine. The timing of that camp for Tempo Storm is going to be better than that of SpaceStation Gaming, but we do see a mule available for SpaceStation, so it's all about how long they can keep their structures alive. If the Haka can get that pressure up on top, it might be something SpaceStation force a rotation out with and could hurt them here over the next shrine phase.
All the mercenary camps have already been dealt with. The SpaceStation are still hoping they can get some more damage done to the towers in the bottom lane prior to this temple activating in 12 seconds. Jaina's all the way up in the top. I guess there was one last mercenary camp to deal with, and she's doing that to help out Equinox. But that means no Jaina as the temple activates, and Tempo Storm hop on greedily to steal some of these tower shots away and start sieging down the bottom fort of SpaceStation.
And even though SpaceStation Gaming technically have themselves that Avatar up on top soaking, by no means is that a winning lane matchup. Hold on, Fury looking to join in there, gets the drag onto Casanova. That is going to be the first kill for Tempo Storm, but they're not done. Howling Blast lands onto Greymane. Jason is the focus, and he's dead. 2 kills for Tempo Storm. Avatar moving his way out to try and get some of the soak and make up for the lack of commitment down to bottom, but it is just still going to be a winning trade here for Tempo Storm.
Synergy between Fury and Caterpillar, excellent in the fights. Getting the roots and then follow-up drags so that there was no way to be able to escape the death ball, as we like to call it, that Tempo Storm has drafted in this game number 4. With the sieging on the bottom, they're getting very close to heroic abilities. We'll see if any changes take place, but I doubt it.
Mule goes down before the burst. The burst will not secure that bottom fort. The members of Tempo Storm have the opportunity with the 10 advantage and the Giants that they're picking up to just force that bottom fort. Looks like they're instead going to concentrate their efforts towards the boss. It'll get the same thing done, but it allows SpaceStation Gaming to abuse that Avatar, getting the side soak up on top to make up for this 10 loss. And a clone plus Ring of Frost is some of the best anti-boss tools in the game. Fury comes in, realizing it's risky.
Yeah, they're not going to get 10 in time at this point. It's so close, but nobody's in position to get on the point. Casanova's already been blown up once. Doesn't want to do so again just before the team gets heroic abilities.
It was close, but Tempo Storm got the boss.
Water Elemental.
Really? Welly, we get, all right.
Here we go.
Here we go.
It drops down, it's on Cawthon. Army
right.
of the Dead, cleanse.
Let's see how much they can make happen. It's gonna slow, hits Fury. Howling Blast, there's gonna be the peel. Disengage from the Welly is successful. Welly didn't get changed since the Colossal nerf like a year ago, right? Like I'm not missing anything here?
Mm-mm.
Do you think he accidentally just hit the wrong button?
I don't know.
Is there, can you come up with an argument? Am I missing something here? Like I can see a little bit of one into Genji.
It's really good at being able to slow when someone is chasing Jaina.
Yeah.
So it's more for like a one-on-one, and then you could slow people from retreating. So maybe the idea is like after they force Tempo Storm to retreat. But that's not the problem. The problem is staying alive initially when Tempo Storm goes into a fight.
Yeah.
That was a fight where Tormented Souls, Dragon Blade, Ancestral Healing, those weren't used. And did you see the health bars of SpaceStation? They were still very low.
Yeah. And that's why we're sitting here kind of twiddling our thumbs trying to figure out the problem that is known as the Water Elemental. I don't know. I'm skeptical, but I'm going to be looking out for it. Maybe we'll find our solution. Tempo Storm receives pressure up on top. There's Equinox with that Jaina clone. Cattle's going to be the concentration. They have Ancestral Healing if necessary.
He also has Army. Fury gets out, has the Brush Stalker now, pulling Casanova into the bush. He'll go down. Now a lot of members starting to take damage from the Tormented Souls and the Dragon Blade. Jaina falls. Equinox's clone will go down. So it's only a 2 kills so far, but it's 2 kills that Tempo Storm get as temples are ready to be captured.
Which is only going to lead to more shots for them and, more importantly, a structural advantage. They've remained on even footing and structures into the Mule Abathur composition of SpaceStation Gaming, but no longer is that the case. After mid-falls, top should be quick to follow. 13 talent tiers. Things are amazing for Tempo Storm. So with the Water Elemental factor coming online, is there a 13 or a 16 spike that now maybe we assume this is Ring of Frost that changes? I feel like the Executioner, given the axe argument, only gets a little bit better and a little bit stronger on the individual damage output, but other than that, I don't think so.
And I don't know if he's going given the axe. He didn't get Skullcracker, but still probably.
I feel like the Executioner...
He's been dying so much, he might take Stone Form.
I mean, that's a good point. I feel like you're right about the Executioner. That has to be about 100%.
Yes.
It just adds up. Giving the axe is like because the adrenal overload, it's like one of those, you don't have to.
The thing is it's just a difference of Water Elemental gives some extra damage, obviously, because it's attacking, and then you can use it on potentially multiple people to slow them.
Yeah.
But the Ring of Frost is a hard stop.
I mean,
so you're still going to get things like Executioner out of both of them, and then once you have the root of Ring of Frost, then you have, yeah, I don't know about the Icy Vein, or the Water Elemental. Maybe they're getting Winter Mute. Maybe it's a Winter Mute comp.
I mean, Winter Mute is honestly a very underestimated level 20.
Mm-hmm.
It is surprisingly strong. The ability, it's essentially, I mean, Future Pass and Me, but Wellia edition, right? It's just a lot of damage output. The invade's going to be real. No Dahaka here. He's going to brush stock right up above.
Casanova's still on the point. Psalm's going in with the Tormented Souls. Dragon Blade 2.
And that looks like she's all she wrote. Look at the HP of SpaceStation Gaming. This isn't even close. Whenever the R buttons are pressed by Tempo Storm, you hope you're on the other side of the map. Well, that was a team fight.
That was. No Icy Veins. Ice Barrier for Jaina, trying to give her some defensiveness. She'll have a shield from that, but things look grim for SpaceStation in Game 4 against Tempo Storm. We're hoping for 16, but at the rate things are going, Tempo Storm has gotten there far and above faster.
Once the top 4 falls, I guess it might not yet. The Fury's going to be slowed till the end of time, so he's either no, wow, man. The 16 talents is enough to make it out. I thought that they might continue the chase with Talking Trees. It's one of those situations where you really want to commit as much as you can, but you also don't want to overcommit because you know Tempo's going to make something happen elsewhere. It's the struggle of being down 2 levels, and more importantly, the major key talent tiers. SpaceStation will most likely tread the map looking for picks until the 16 window hits. When that happens, we can assume that boss probably will be down. Maybe not. Tempo hasn't started that top shrine fast enough, so at least all of bottom will be gone. Most of top and Tempo should rotate and contest, or they'll focus on to the boss.
Well, if they could get Fury, they knew that a lot of people were in bottom because there were the quad giants. So they can theorize that it would be Fury up at the top. So they head to the top. Now Tempo goes for the boss, knowing that at least some of SpaceStation were on the top temple. SpaceStation step off. They're heading down. They don't have 16. Fury clearing out the wave, trying to give the team vision.
I mean, it's a better I want to say it's a better fight, but the territorially Tempest Storm's ults all work around boss so very well.
Yes.
So this is still a very difficult fight for SpaceStation Gaming, but they're going to take it. They move on. Tormented Souls is dropped. The focus is on to Casanova. He's silenced on point. Ancestral does land. The drag brings him back. But the members of SpaceStation are falling so very low. Palm procs. Cass is still on point. He heals up. They might have this, Gilly.
Oh my goodness, they might.
did it.
They take out Tahaka. Tiger JK
Tigers
dives
is gone.
forward. He takes out Genji. June is the next, about to fall. They take down Maltheo. They steal the boss. They wipe Tempo Storm. How did that just happen?
Casanova's 13 healed him so much, and then Tiger came in. He popped 2 auto attacks, gets 1. He looks to the next. He's gonna pop 3. That's Iron Fist pop proc. He got 2 kills alone, and then half confirmed the 3rd.
And the palm timing too, it was just enough that he was still on the point because it started to go back up. God, we gotta watch that again.
Oh man. The biggest thing is for me is Casanova. Look at him, his healing from his W is huge here at the end.
He has to palm him, and see, it starts to go back toward Tempo Storm, but he stays on the point.
Look at that.
He's got the Abathur hat.
Between the Abathur hat and both of his W's hitting 3 targets, he healed himself for over 50% of his maximum HP. Casanova actually had 4 health bars throughout that whole fight.
That was a miracle save for SpaceStation. Look at the experience they caught back up.
They're even in structures. I mean, who would have known this game was dominated by Tempo Storm for the first everything up until 5 seconds ago?
What kind of led me to think maybe this is going to work for SpaceStation is their spread was not the best Tormented Souls. That was the first indication. And then Dragon Blade wound up, and I was like, there's no way. There's no way they lived through this. But there's only 1 Ancestral. They stayed spread out. Palm was only being used. It was being saved for Casanova on the point, and he lived for so long on that point with healing static. And now he's got Stone Form, and they have Northern Exposure. They've made it to 16.
They're here. They're ready to play. It's just whether or not the next fight looks as good as that last one for SpaceStation Gaming. Because we also have to remember that it was just 1 team fight ago that the night camp happened, and that one was a very different case. Tempo Storm absolutely obliterated them. So now it's just, does SpaceStation get the spread into the team fight and stay separated enough to make sure that Tempo Storm is unsuccessful into their skirmish?
They definitely need to with the Malthael's 16 because he went into Massacre, and that allows Wraith Strike to damage and apply Reaper's Mark to enemies around the target. So he's already got Tormented Souls. Now he has another way of being able to apply all of that Reaper's Mark at once. They have to stay spread versus Psalm, versus Dragon Blade, not make it an easy way of swiping through several people at once with Dragon Blade. There's no Echo of Heaven. Tiger JK is full on into making sure that he can get the kills. And honestly, the way he played in the last fight, it makes a lot of sense.
He got him. 20's here for Tempo Storm. With those 10 seconds remaining, all the mini waves pressured out, there's no free experience available for SpaceStation Gaming. They're going to lose quite a few shots up on top, but not enough to get a keep. So they're going to be okay. Actually, it's a lot. That's a long ways away from 20. For mid lane to be the only lane you can get experience in,
They have the mule.
it's in Tempo Storm's best interest to not pressure this out on top. It does provide him more vision, but it increases the rate at which experience is available for SpaceStation. SpaceStation not moving up.
It does allow Tempo Storm to know exactly where SpaceStation are, though.
So now we know. SpaceStation. When do we all? There it goes. The clone is dropped. We've got double Greymane. Equinox, he's mounted up. And Tempo Storm suddenly really doesn't want to fight.
We're going to deal with the clone first. And it has been dealt with. No clone.
Fury didn't get a drag. He's completely split. Kattle's flanking. The Welly's going to be dropped. Ice Block is used there from Jaina. Tormented Souls goes on. Coffin. He gets Ancestral. He's going to be okay. The 3-man isolation again from these members. So big a plays coming out from the Dahaka.
There's still alive, Tiger. Does the Reaper's Mark proc this? It does. Reaper's Mark, and they had the lightning shield. But even still, Tiger JK has been caught. Trees off to the side.
Cassa's 1v5.
But Tiger JK goes down.
He's going to be able to take this fight if nobody goes in answer to him. He can deal with this. The self-sustain is a really huge tool. Okay, that W missing is not something they can afford.
These trees have a blizzard, something to slow them down in this choke point.
He's got another W, the
there.
Stormbolt.
Song.
The heal. He gets healed back.
Cass is dead, so is Arthas, but it's still a 3-for-1.
Double Jaina's online. Nobody's able to move through vision. They see the clone thanks to that minion in the bottom left-hand side, so it's not like Tempo Storm's going to be blindsided by this.
I don't...
You know, it's gone. So now what? Burst consumed.
Maybe some miscommunication about what was wanting to go with that, or bringing the clone and then realizing that Tempo would be able to back on out.
Not like this, trees. Oh! What you know about Jaina, boys? Bringing the damages.
Well-deserved spray, Talking Trees.
What did he, how did, was that, what damage was that?
He had to have the symbiote on him, right? Northern Exposure.
He had the Northern Exposure reveal, but that was like 1 Q and he chunked, like it must have been Blizzard and Ice Lance hit at the exact same time.
Here we go, here we go, here we go.
Okay, so he Northern Exposures
Oh,
first.
that's the... Yeah, he got the chill from Ice Block. He has the Northern Exposure.
And he just dunks him.
He's down.
Boss is up.
No Genji for 20 seconds. Fury sees this. Mouthdale's all the way at the top. This should be a free boss.
It is going to be a free boss here for SpaceStation.
I cannot believe that SpaceStation are hanging on to this game. They haven't lost a keep.
They have not. And Tempo Storm is about a few seconds away from possibly losing theirs. And, you know, if they fail to defend this appropriately with the 5-man defense that they have, it is very likely that will be the case, that they will possibly lose this game right now.
They have to go across the death bridge, and this is worst case scenario. Tormented Souls, Dragon becomes me, Contagion.
Oh, Cattle's
They've caught
playing.
Psalm, though.
They got trees, too. Who goes down first? Ancestral onto Psalm. Jason's the focus. Palm lands.
Palm lands, that's one thing down. Storm Shield trying to keep everyone alive, but Jaina's already been eliminated, and so is Greymane as Cawthon continues to slice and dice his way through the members of SpaceStation Gaming. They've gotten 3 kills, only Casanova's left.
He
will
keeps
last
alive,
as long as he can.
If he can live any longer, one more heal. If he door tosses away after the secondary heal, no, he will not buy enough time. I was going to say there's a realm where maybe he backdoors onto the core with the, you know, boss that's, by the way, doing damage to the core. Fury is going to be the first to respond. It's not game. There's no way that does enough damage to the core. At least, I don't believe so. I guess I shouldn't say that as absolute fact, but Tempo Storm, they're marching to the core. A Soul Abathur to defend. If Tempo fails to end this game, keep in mind, there will be a Mule to heal things on up. Might not even be able to move past this Keep.
Keep is down in a few seconds. Now, 10 seconds until Jaina, 10 seconds until Greymane. The damage dealers, but no Muradin at the front lines in front of them. They have a clone, so they can clone him. They'll have Water Elemental too.
Cattle has no mana.
Mule's
He's easy to kill. It's about killing Psalm. Psalm has got to be the one who goes down. Cattle's the focus, 40%. The
Still
Mule.
falling. Mule is there. June's the
20.
next to be taken, but they still have damage dealers on the core. That should be it. 3%, 0%. Tempo Storm win in game number 4. SpaceStation did not at all make it an easy win, but they still were able to sustain through those couple of team fights, use that early victory they had to carry on through, get the keep, get the core, and win the series.
I feel like that game is such a really cool example of how just one small difference in a fight, or even a bigger difference into a fight, can change how an entire game looks, right? We saw probably, I would say, 5 team fights throughout the whole game. 3 of them, Tempo Storm, didn't even look like it was a game. It was just wipe them and get rid of them from this world. The other ones, outstanding survivability and sustain coming out from the members of SpaceStation Gaming. We gave a lot of highlight to them over the boss, but it just shows like a game can look the same way all the way through, but if you identify and adapt on the fly like we always talk about, and you get that adjustment and you realize what is the element that is giving them this advantage constantly, and you can change it, it really can change the outcome of the game. It doesn't here. Tempo still gets it, but that was a not even close game that lasted very long because of that adjustment from SpaceStation Gaming, and then suddenly was very, very competitive.
Yeah, it didn't here, but it was close.
Yeah.
It was very close. But unfortunately for SpaceStation, the area of effect abilities that abounded for Tempo Storm just too strong when they started to go across the death bridge, and the flank was excellent from Tempo too.
Yeah, Tempo drafted the Death Ball Eve AoE, melee composition 2 times against the members of SpaceStation. I'm going to be really looking at if Tempo, if they truly think that this is a go-to strategy, or if it was more like SpaceStation can't handle it and it's not a bad comp, it's just more we know they can't deal with it. After the draft adjustment into the Zeratul, it was pretty apparent that they didn't really know how to deal with all those melees. And so showing it in Game 2, I want to know, is Tempo still willing to pick that many melees and against a different opponent?
Well, Tempo Storm now, with that victory, I believe is sitting at 4th in our standings, being able to get a series win over SpaceStation and their first series win of Part 2. But as we know for Tempo Storm, once they start getting the momentum, it does seem like they are able to just charge right on through the rest of the part.
And when it comes to, maybe bumps in the road and speed bumps of teams that we know to perform internationally and come back, this has got to be one of the more small ones from Tempo Storm, and the fact that it's week number 2 and we already see still signs of life. And their first opponent, was still pretty respectable in week number 1.
Yeah, they have lost to Roll20 and Gale Force. They'll still be looking for Team Freedom and how that series is going, but it's important for us to keep track of these series and how these teams do versus each other, especially the teams at the top, because trying to figure out who the heck is going to be the teams that represent North America at the HGC Finals at BlizzCon. Let's check in with Sam now, who is ready to talk to us, give us a winner's interview. Hey, Sam, congratulations. Only the one loss versus SpaceStation, but you guys were drafting a lot of area of effect, death volley compositions. Is this just something that you feel is really good in the meta or fitting you guys very well, your play style?
I think Dahaka, Genji, and Malthael are all like S tier right now. So, I mean, you get all 3 of them, it's easy to win team fights. And if you win team fights, it's easy to win the game.
We saw Water Elemental, and we were expecting Ring of Frost from Talking Trees last game. What did you think maybe the Water Elemental choice was for?
I am honestly not sure.
Okay.
I really thought they were going to go Ring because we were very melee based. So I feel like it would have been easy rings since we were clumping a lot. But yeah, maybe it was a misclick. I'm not very sure.
Well, we were wondering about it. Didn't know if you had any more insight into it. But I'll let Dread ask you a couple questions now.
First off, I've got to ask, where are the Mickey sheets, man? It's a entirely different landscape going on back there. What's going on?
Yeah, so my lease in LA ended. So I'm moved back home right now. And those Mickey sheets were actually not mine. They were my roommates. And that was his bed you guys saw all the time, not mine. So rip Mickey sheets. They're gone forever. I'm sorry, guys. I let everyone down.
I think we can forgive you, especially after the dominant performance you guys had today. After week number 1, obviously didn't go as maybe according to plan. Do you guys feel satisfied after the performance here against SpaceStation Gaming, or was the one loss maybe more than you were hoping for? Just want to know the confidence levels after week 1 and 2 in play.
Yeah, we were pretty satisfied with our performance, barring the couple mishaps there in the last game. We didn't close it out quite as perfectly as we wanted. As for Roll20 and Gale Force, Roll20, they were just definitely the better team that weekend. We didn't play versus Garage very well. We were playing well versus them in scrims, but I don't know, something mental weirdness happened, I guess, and we started playing really bad versus Garage. And as for Gale Force, close series. Could have ended it if we didn't make a couple of late game mistakes. But yeah, they played well, so.
Thank you very much for giving some insight, and I hope that you bring back the Mickey sheets, Psalm.
Yeah.
I really need them.
Yeah. Dread doesn't know what to do with himself without them.
Yeah.
I noticed that you got your braces off. Congratulations. As a previous braces owner, I know how great that feels to have them off.